What is up, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Fulfillment Podcast, where we help discover a better you by finding fulfillment in life, relationships, and finance. I'm your host, Josh, and in this episode, talk about what it means to be a high-status person. What it looks like when you're not a high-status person, what are some signs of people that aren't high-status, and then obviously, what is it that you can do to make yourself a high-status person, to put yourself in that mindset. It's huge. Once you realize these kind of little things, it shifts a lot. And so I bring up 4 basic principles of things to look for and things to start acting like and doing and implementing in your life so that you can start moving yourself into a high-value person, a high-status person, and start accomplishing the things that you set yourself out to do. So that being said, let's get right to it. What is up, my people? All right, so today, this one, I want to talk about the what it means to be high status. So when you start thinking high status, right? When you think about somebody that's high status, what do you think of? Like, what are some things that come to mind? Probably think about somebody that's like in the zone. They know what they're doing. They're on their fulfillment. They're crushing it. They're probably not working, whatever it is for the man or doing whatever else, they got going on, but they're fucking like, they're killing it. They're on this like journey to where they're doing exactly what they want. They're not putting up with anybody else's bullshit. They're not dealing with people they don't want to deal with. They're not spending time doing shit they don't want to. Not going to places that they don't want. They have like the ultimate kind of like freedom, right? Think about like a high status person, right? Somebody that's kind of like outside of your league, somebody that maybe you don't think that you can talk to unless you see yourself as like a high status person too, right? And that's the way you know. The way you know that you're up there is because you start doing that. So in this episode, I kind of want to talk about a few different things. What does it mean to be high status? What does it look like to be high status? And how do you get there, right? And I'm going to touch on a couple other things, but starting off with the first one, let's get into the first step of being high status and what high status, a high value person looks like in life. I'll tell you. So you ever go to the gym? I'll give a little story here. You ever go to the gym and you notice that you see some people, right, and they're constantly just doing this like whole like check themselves out in the mirror thing, right? Taking selfies sometimes. Obviously the real self-centered people are taking selfies of themselves, but they're sitting there, they're super into themselves, they're looking around, they're trying to check out who else is having fun or who else is checking them out or who else is looking over at them. Like they're always like constantly head on a swivel kind of people. Those are the people that are definitely not a high status person, right? If you're constantly concerned about somebody else or the impact of other people or how much somebody else is observing you or checking you out or something like that, that's the sign of somebody that's not a high value person or a high status person, right? A high value person doesn't give a flying fuck. I can tell you that right now, right? They don't care because they're doing what they want to. They know if they're good or not, and they don't need the confirmation from somebody else to tell them that. You can listen to some of the stuff that like Gary Vee says, and he's like, why the fuck do you care? Why do you care? You don't care. Stop caring about what other people think. It's your job, it's your life, it's your freedom and your fulfillment that you're pursuing, not somebody else's. This isn't some charity case. This isn't some community project that you're trying to figure out. No, it's your fucking relationship. It's your life. Stop worrying about what other people think. I think Gary Vee's awesome for that because he'll tell it straight up, and he'll tell it to your face too. If you watch any of his videos or any of the podcasts or anything else that he has, he gives it so straight up, it's blunt. But that's how a high-value person thinks too. They're not going to put up with bullshit because it's a waste of their time. It's a huge, critical piece when you start identifying who you are as a person and what you're doing. So if you're constantly looking around, like next time you're in the gym, right? I do this all the time now because once you see it once, it's almost like you can never forget it. But once you look, next time you're in the gym, right? Look around and see who else is super concerned with everybody around them and what everybody else is doing, or they're checking themselves out in the mirror or doing all this stuff for like the external appearance instead of doing it for themselves, right? There's some people that get in there and they'll be like just going at it and they do their own thing. And then when they're done, sure, then they could talk to people and stuff. But usually they're in the zone. They're either in the zone with their like lifting partner or whoever their friend is that they're doing their workouts with, or they're in the zone by themselves and they're doing it for themselves. Right? So you compare somebody like that to somebody that's constantly checking around, looking to see if someone else is like watching them or hanging out or checking themselves out or all this other stuff. Like, bro, got it, man. Like, all about you, but nobody fucking cares. Just nobody cares, right? Everybody's favorite topic is themselves. Nobody cares about you. And that's how you know someone's either a high value person or not. I mean, I could tell you, think about, there's a lot of girls out there, right, that probably get hit on and stuff, especially in their gym and if they're looking cute and stuff, all that. And the guys try and hit on them in the middle of the workout. Now, you can tell a high value girl because she's not going to put up with that, right? She's not going to have time for some dude that's trying to hit on her when she's trying to get a workout in. Same thing with a guy, right? If the dude's a high value guy, he's not going to try and hit on the girl while she's in the middle of her workout, right? Maybe you run across her, you see her, you guys connect eyes or something, but you're not sitting there trying to start a conversation while she's throwing some weight up over her head. And the same thing with you, right? You're not going to try and start some conversation when you're trying to bench, a PR. It's not going to happen. You just don't do it. If you really care about yourself and you're there for like the growth of actually going to the gym and improving and trying to get stronger and better, you're not there to try and hit up a conversation with the girl. Now, that's not to say that after the workout, you hit her, you see her in the parking lot or something, or you're walking out to the car and you're like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, saw you in there. Like, leg day or something. You make it like a joke or something, whatever. But like, you're not doing it in the gym or during the workout. You can run into each other afterwards, and then that makes sense, right? Get your lift in, go do what you got to do, and then when you're done, then that's when you have the small talk, right? A lot of gyms have kind of like that lobby area in the front or something like that. Like, that's a good place to just throw your bag down, start putting on some, changing your shoes out or throwing on, your shirt or your hoodie or mixing your protein or whatever, and then, oh, hey, what's up? I saw you. That's perfectly fine. And that's what more of a high value person would do, as opposed to trying to do the same thing in the gym, or you're sitting around, head on a swivel type concept. Same thing goes true if you think about that same concept, but like maybe in a bar, right? You go into the bar or the nightclub or whatever. If you go in and somebody's constantly concerned about other people or constantly looking around to try and find out where's the good time, where's all the people having fun at, where do I need to be, looking around for all that, those people are people that you typically probably don't see as high value person, right? They're not a high quality or high status person. Now, if you walk in and somebody knows exactly where they're going, they're not caring about anybody else. They're doing what they got to do. They do what they want to do. They're not focused on the attention that other people are giving them or what other people are doing around them, because they don't give a flying fuck, right? They don't care. Those are the people you can tell, right? You automatically have this aura that surrounds these people, that they're a high status person. And if you want to be a high status person, you got to start thinking that way. You got to start thinking of yourself as such a high value person that you don't care about the opinions of other people. You don't care about the time that other people are having. You don't care about what everybody else has going on. You don't care about other things. You're focused on you, yourself, and improving that. And that's it. That's your world. Your world is focused on the people that are immediately impacting you and your surroundings, and that's the only thing that you're focusing on. You're in the gym, you're doing that. You're at the nightclub, you're doing that. You're at the bars, you're doing that. If you're in a business, in your business meeting or whatever, you're not going to sit there, and if you're trying to get yourself to a level to where you meet with somebody that is a higher value client, right? A high value client, you're not going to spend the same amount of time with them as you are going to be on somebody that's a low value client, right? Or somebody that's not quite as high value as what you want them to be, right? So maybe somebody that causes more problems or maybe isn't putting as much effort into it. But maybe this client in particular is a high value client. You know they got a high net worth, they're doing the right things, and you're going to focus more energy on them. So you don't care about other people, right? And that's what they don't care about other people either. And that's what you need to do. You need to devote your time to that specific individual because that's what they are. They're a high value person, and that's what you need to do. Just over here clicking on videos and firing stuff up. But I love it, right? I listen to some Jason Capital stuff, and a lot of this stuff, it's funny, that's what the video is. But Jason Capital is somebody, he talks about a lot of this stuff, right? The guy used to go, he went to Michigan State for a couple years, ended up stopping because he started doing his own thing, started his own company, and ended up making $1 million in the first 9 months that he started going to these webinars and stuff. And the biggest thing that he took away from it and what really springboarded his success was when he shifted himself from thinking like a low status, low valued person, right? Just thinking like he was going to the parties and that's all he was living for, right? Just going to the bars on the weekend and hanging out with the girls and hooking up with people and like all that stuff. Like that's what his focus was, right? And then when he shifted himself to becoming a high value person and thinking of himself as a high value person, somebody of high status, that's when he started to change his life. And that's when he ended up leaving Michigan State. He told one of his professors was like, Jason, you have to start thinking real. And he's like, what do you mean? Like I want to do something bigger with my life. And she's like, you don't get it. You have to find a job that's stable. Do you think I want to be a professor? And he's like, oh. And at that moment, he realized that she didn't even want to do what she was doing. She wasn't happy being the professor teaching the subjects and doing the stuff that she was doing, she was only doing it because it was quote unquote safe, right? It was a safe, secure job, and he didn't want that. She was thinking with a low status mindset, and he's like, you got to start thinking bigger. You got to start thinking higher. You got to start thinking higher yourself. And that brings us to step 2, the best way to do that, right? How do you start moving yourself into the high value status lifestyle? Start surrounding yourself with the people that have that mindset, that have that lifestyle, that have that demeanor about them in everything that they do, right? You can do that by going to seminars. You can do that by hitting people up on Instagram and trying to meet up with them, right? You can do that by watching videos and reading books and surrounding yourself with people that have the intellect and the capabilities, right? And meeting those people and not being afraid to say hi and providing value for those different types of people. Right? I mean, one of the biggest things, like for example, right, Grant Cardone, I think I talked about this in one of the previous episodes. There's a lot of these things called mastermind classes, right? And what it is it's that person puts on a class that specializes in whatever it is that they do. So Grant Cardone does a couple different things. He does the 10X stuff, and then he also does his real estate side, right? So he's kind of got a couple different businesses. Jason Capital or Alex Morocco, whatever you want to call him, but he also does the same thing, right? He does mastermind classes on kind of like designing and building a social media platform or a digital media agency, right? That's kind of his thing. He's done dating coaching and stuff too, but he's not really in that anymore. So there's different things, right? And these guys put on these mastermind classes. And the cool thing about it is, while albeit expensive, what it is you surround yourself by going to one of these classes. You surround yourself with the type of people that start thinking at that caliber that you need to get yourself in the mindset of. And it's not just the one person. It's not like a one-on-one session. Well, I'll be that amazing, right? That would be awesome. However, you're surrounding yourself typically with anywhere from probably like 20 to 40 people that all are there for the same reasons. And if there's anything that you start learning once you're in the kind of like high value mindset and you start doing these things that are intended to improve you, and start just like going after education more than anything else, right? You learn that knowledge is power. You start understanding that that's how the people go to these classes, right? So the rich people, so you see some guy that's like a millionaire, right? He goes to these classes more than the guy that's not, right? More than the guy that's making 3, 4, 5K a month. Because the people that I think they're making that aren't thinking of themselves as high status, so they're not going to go to these high status classes, right? They're not going to go to these classes that are going to improve their health and their net worth. Whereas the people that have this high value think of themselves like that, and they go to these high value classes, these high status classes, and surround themselves with more knowledge and more understanding so that they can continue to improve themselves. So when you start understanding those kind of things, just boom, your whole fucking world opens up, because then you start learning everything. Like, it's fucking nuts. You guys just got to think of that, right? What are you trying to do? If you're trying to grow, if you're trying to expand, if you're trying to find your fulfillment and do the things you're doing, find somebody that's doing or has done what you're trying to do. If you're trying to go to the gym and become a better bodybuilder and become a big person, or you're trying to put on some weight, or you're trying to lean down or whatever, find somebody that's done that and surround yourself with that person. You'll start to assimilate, and you'll start to take the qualities that they have and build that into your life. You'll start to take the value that they have and implementing that into your own life. And you'll start acquiring those same things for yourself. The same goes true in the negative direction too, though, right? Don't surround yourself with the people that aren't doing the thing you want to. You got to understand you have to be able to let go of those people and only keep them kind of like edit and crop out the amount of time that you spend with them, because they can start to influence you too, just in the negative way, the way you don't want, right? That brings me to point 3. The third point is, don't settle for less. If you want to become a high status and high value person, you can't settle for hanging around or being with somebody that's less than that. You have to understand that you've got to start limiting your time with those types of people, right? If that person doesn't serve the bigger purpose of what you're trying to accomplish, edit the amount of time that you're going to spend with them. Just like if you go on iMovie or something and you start editing and making a video, how you can kind of like crop the time and change the sequence, or GoPro editor or whatever, right? You know, you can go in there, you can edit the different times. Just do the same. You're essentially doing the same thing with the relationships and the people you have in your life. You're changing, right? The people that have the low vibes and aren't helping you get to where you need to be, you're reducing the amount of time that you spend with them, and you're increasing the amount of time that you spend with the people that are doing or have done what you're trying to do. Don't settle for less. That's the third point. Don't settle for less. And the fourth point, you got to understand that you under-promise and over-deliver when you do acquire whatever those different talents are or those people are that you're trying to meet with, right? Leave a little in the tank. Leave something there left to be desired. Don't give everything out at once, right? You meet that girl for the first time and you start talking to her and you just tell her your entire life story. Everything comes out on the first date, right? Every damn thing comes out. And there's no mystery left to you. There's nothing left for her to learn or to continue to drive her will to learn about you and understand you and want to spend more time with you. You just give everything out on the first date. Fuck. That's kind of it, man. Same thing with her, right? She gives you everything and tells you everything and does, everything that you guys want to do together, and you guys, you learn everything there is about her, and that's it. There's nothing left, and it's like dull from there. Probably not going to talk to her again, right? At least if you're a high value guy, you're not going to probably talk to her, because then at that point you're like, well, what more value do you provide to me? You're not going to bring anything else to the table. I don't know. I need somebody that's going to make me, push me a little stronger and push me a little further and make me better. You're not somebody that I want to surround myself with for the rest of my life. So you got to think that way, right? It goes both ways. You got to understand. You got to under-promise, over-deliver. That's the best way to do it. You never want to oversell yourself, right? If you oversell yourself, then you're telling yourself you can't accomplish what you're doing because you're saying you have oversold what you're capable of. But if you tell yourself, hey, I've undersold myself, which means there's a lot left to come. There's a lot left that's coming as soon as this is over. It's just interesting to think about. It's very interesting when you start thinking about psychology of things, right? Think about when you meet up with somebody and how if a girl comes in and she tells you everything and you guys do everything on the first date, you probably never want to talk to her again. But if you leave stuff left to be untold, left unsaid, then as time goes, you'll want to learn more, and you want to spend more time with her, and you want to spend more, do more activities and learn more things and ask more questions and all that stuff, right? You want to build that intimacy as time goes on. You're not going to just have it all on the first date, because then you're like, well, all right, bye, I guess. Same thing holds true, not just in relationships, but in business too. You can't give everything you've got and blow everything out on the first 10 minutes or whatever, and then try and oversell yourself. No, you got to bring yourself up. If you're talking to a high status person, if you try and sell yourself and sell everything you've got on that very first time, they're going to be like, all right, man, I got it. But because if you think about it, if you're equivalent or somebody that does the same thing as you, but is at the same status level as this high value person that you're trying to meet, if they were instead to meet with them, they would treat them just almost like equals, right? And that's how you got to think of yourself. You got to undersell yourself and then over-deliver, right? Undersell yourself, come up to them, treat them like equals, play on their level, play just below them, right? You don't want to play so low and try and sell yourself so hard that you show them you're so far below them. You don't want to oversell yourself like you're overqualified to deal with them. But you want to kind of be right where they are, but just below them, So you're almost peers. You're almost on the same level. And when they see that and they take you on, then all of a sudden they become your client. That's when you oversell. That's when you over-deliver what you bring to the table for them. And then that's what's going to keep them as a client. I have this mentality that with my digital media agency, with JR Media, what I do is when I meet a client, that first couple times, right, because you're not really making money on the first couple of times that you work with them. So for the first month or two, what I do is I put everything I can of my budget into product and placement and development for them in order to build that reputation, that instant reputation with them. I'm not trying to make money on the first month or two. I'm not. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a reputation, because at that point, if you can build that reputation, what you're doing is you're securing the long-term income. You're securing the client long-term. You're building the relationship to the point that they're not going to leave. And when you do that, you secure something like that, you essentially secure yourself a revenue stream for the rest of your life, or for however long that they're in their business. And if you help them grow a business and it continues to grow and become successful, it's going to be a very, very long time. So think about it like that, right? You want to get yourself in the door, get your foot in the door, get yourself enough to where you feel like you're peers with them. They hire you. At that point, you overpromise. That's how you deal with a high net worth client. So if that makes sense. To wrap it all back up, You got to watch out for the people that have their head on swivel and are constantly concerned with other people. If you're in your own zone and the girl's in their own zone, or whoever it is, the client's in their own zone, right? If they're by themselves and they're not concerned with other people, that's a sign of a high value person, right? That's a big sign. Never want to settle for less. Always know what your worth is and know your value and act like it. Treat yourself like that is your value and never settle for anything less. You got to surround yourself, right? The third point, surround yourself with high value people. You got to surround yourself with the environment that you want yourself to be in. If you think of yourself as a high value person, you're going to put yourself in high value situations. If you think of yourself as a low status person, you're going to put yourself in low status situations. Try and surround yourself with the environment that you want yourself to be in. And then the last one, you got to make sure you're under promise, you over deliver. As soon as you get that client, you do everything you can to show them that you are the best option on the table for that first little bit. Make a solid first impression, and after that, you'll lock them in for the rest of your life. They'll never want to go anywhere else. Think about people that have done that with you, and it's amazing, right? But if somebody undersells or over promises and undersells themselves, and they come in and they can't accomplish what they told you they would, you're not going to stick with them more than likely, right? So those 4 principles, make sure you guys understand that. Go through them, understand, read them. Take notes, obviously, on all this stuff. But if you guys like, I definitely could touch on a little bit more on this. I think this is a lot of content. The biggest one for me, I think, is surrounding yourself. Like putting yourself out there of moving from one type of environment to the other. Once you understand that you got to surround yourself with the people that are thinking the way you want to be thinking and that are doing things the way that you want to be doing things. Once you understand that, that's when things really start shifting for you. If you talk to anybody, right? If you talk to any successful entrepreneur, millionaire, billionaire, whatever, right? Business owner. If you talk to anybody, it's the point that they become successful is the point that they realize when you start surrounding yourself with people that are doing or have done the things that you want to do. That's when you start achieving the things that you want to achieve. I always said freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. And in order to achieve the freedom, you got to be able to surround yourself with the environment that provides that. So think about that. But other than that, thanks guys for tuning in. It's a rather short one, but I love it because it's good to understand your value. You got to know your net worth. And in order to find a high value girl or a high value client or a high value whoever, right? You got to think of yourself as a high value person too. So you got to start putting yourself in those situations. So it's good to know. Definitely good content, worth probably saving in your most liked podcast episodes and re-listening to it. But other than that, guys, thanks for checking it out. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We have officially broken the 300 mark as of this episode. So things are officially over 300 listeners, which is pretty freaking cool. I think it's on the road to the right direction. So I love it. Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in. You guys are the best. Love you guys. Peace.